Have you seen smaller groups, like 4 to 6?
They come in. Usually what's happening is we're really driven by the community, making friends, big tournament, big fun. We'll take smaller groups like that and we make bigger groups.
Group them up, yeah.
And we really, that's kind of great. I mean, that's honestly one of my favorite things about this business is the combined groups. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like a weird moment where we're not, like there's two groups that are just like, we're weird, we don't know each other, and by the end, they're best friends. They're hugging, they're changing phone numbers, they're leaving here, going to the bars after, they're like, oh, let's go down and have a beer down the street or something. I've leaned heavily into this idea of getting out of your comfort zone. I do it in every step of the way. You're doing something, you're maybe throwing new people, you're sharing this experience with everyone in the building, even down to the beers on tap. I mean, most of them, some are crowd favorites, like your EBC and stuff, but a lot of them are stuff that like people don't see everywhere. And it's just like, get in there. The amount of times I get a guy that's like, I just want beer. It's like, what do you mean, Ben? You go, I drink Blue Light. It's like, drink this. I got something better for you. And they're happy and excited about that, but they would never do that. But they've already kind of accepted going into the unknown.
Yeah, you drove here knowing I'm going to throw an axe at a piece of wood,
yep,
and then most likely meet a stranger. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the most fond memories you have in your life, and most of them are based around shared experience with somebody.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing. We're facilitating a shared experience that you get to do with somebody else that's either close, friends with your family, or a perfect stranger. I like going to the perfect stranger piece. One of my favorite ones is you see the bachelorette party, because it's a group of 2 or 3 friend groups jammed together, and they're like, I don't know, the work friends are over here, all my college buddies are over here. They don't know each other, and by the end of it, it's like they were all lifelong friends. And then I think that carries, to the rest of the night, into the wedding, into the reception. It's like, because now you've bonded yourself with that group of guys or girls. Yeah, exactly. We've definitely had, Jack and Jill's take the whole building up. I mean, there's, we've done a couple things. One of the other fun ones that I do sometimes, we'll open up for the groomsmen on day of weddings stuff. So they're here at 11 in the morning, drinking some beers, throwing some axes while the ladies are getting ready, and then they go walk down to the church. Mm-hmm. Actually, the most recent one is actually my sister-in-law was getting married, and we were here drinking around, and we walked down to the church down the street, and it was fun. It was a fun way to start the day.
Someone may look into that, because that's a super good idea, especially because of where we are.
Yeah.
The whole location's prime. I mean, you mentioned weddings for groomsmen. You could buy cigars across the street, come here, have a couple beers, throw some axes, and then go get ready at the hotel room, do the getting ready shots, and then go to the wedding. And then you're best friends with everybody now, because it's the most motivating thing in the world to throw an axe at a piece of wood. Like we're on the set of Troy.
Yeah, no, that's a great, I don't know, I've personally done it for 2 weddings. I've been involved with them, so it's easy to come here. But I've seen it happen a number of times, and it's just like, it's like a fun little weird thing that we'll do, and
that's really cool. Well, we should sit down and then go through all of the history on how this whole thing started, because I'm sure legal and pulling permits and introducing this idea to the city of Buffalo is probably a really cool conversation, but also terrifying, because it's the city and you don't know how they're going to respond to throwing an axe at a piece of wood with alcohol.
It surprisingly, for the most part, wasn't as bad as you think. But I think it's believing in it, and when you believe in it and you can tell people about it, people believe in you.
Right.
And
Hatchet styles.
yeah, and I think that's what's helped us all along, is that Obviously, I had some liquor license issues with the SLA early on, but rightfully so.
Yes.
On paper, it sounds a lot worse than it is. In real life, when you're in this, this basically surrounded cage, you're only in here with one other person and an instructor. You have an instructor for your entire group, so your group basically have an instructor for an average of every 12 people. And there's 2 more people working. So you have basically an employee for every 8 people in the building. It's not hard to be controlled. And really, overconsumption or rowdiness that happens at a bar, at least the drinking part, comes from boredom. Most of the time when you're pounding them back at a bar, it's because you have nothing better to do.
Correct.
You're so engaged in this activity,
Yeah.
you're drinking, but the drinking is secondary. It's not why you're here.
Yeah.
And, like a lot of sports, there is diminishing returns. At some point, you're like, next sip is I'm gonna lose. I'm not going to win because I now can't do it. So you're conscious of that, and you know that moment where like, okay, I gotta. So it does self-regulate a lot, and I think that keeps it. And it's really a short period of time. I mean, you're only here for a couple hours. You gotta put some work in.
The system that is in place is perfectly streamlined, where you took the good from every aspect, combined it, and then just like, bye-bye, have a good day. Go enjoy the rest of the theater district of Buffalo, just because there's literally people waiting for you to leave their booth, so get out of the cage.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's great. So you keep saying. But like I said, the SLA was a little bit weary. But I think once we proved to them, we were open for a year without our liquor license, and they kind of kept a watchful eye on it.
Did they?
We were the first axe throwing place in the U.S.
Here in Buffalo?
Yeah. And
That's huge news.
yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, it was like, I don't know, it's weird to kind of see it change over the years and how much it has grown.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were, it was early on popularized in Toronto. A gentleman up there literally started throwing axes in his backyard, and all his friends came over and they kind of just started doing it. And then one day he said, I should open a bar. Probably, obviously, it made sense. He was building these parties in his backyard every night. He gets like, let's do something with this. He did this moment, and then I was fortunate to experience that fairly early on in axe throwing as like a thing. And I was like, this has tons of opportunity. And I think Buffalo at the time is, we're going back 6 years almost now. It was five. We were officially open 5 years in September. So looking before that, it was like there wasn't much to do, particularly in the winters around here. It was fairly boring.
Yeah, I mean, you can only shovel for so long, man.
And I don't personally love anymore. I guess maybe it's just getting old. I don't know, but I don't think I actually really liked it. It was just sitting at a bar, just sitting and drinking. I was always the guy that's got to play pool, got to play darts, got to do something. Maybe I'm fidgety, maybe I'm just like a little bit too amped up. I don't know, but I couldn't just do that. And I thought to myself, I can't be the only one. There's got to be people that are looking for more in their night than just drinking a beer. And having a burger.
Perfect idea.
And it just sets you up for this level of what's the rest of the night going to be? Because now I've done this.
Yeah.
What's next? You can't end at this. You're amped up. Your adrenaline's going. It's like we got to go out now. And I've been fortunate to kind of be down here on the 500 block of Main while watching it kind of all come back. When we first moved in, there was nothing around here. This entire street was basically vacant. And I mean, you got Chow's opened up, Fatty's opened up, Gray Lynn's down there now. Big Ditch was, I think, opened up right before we did, but it was like we were able to kind of like use that as an opportunity to like create a night out.
Yeah.
Whatever your cup of tea is and going out after, there's opportunities around. You can go down, you can go up, you can go over. There's so much down here. So this was just a moment that you do. You go to dinner, you come here, you go out. And it's been fun. It's been fun kind of being part of watching this area particularly come back. It's kind of just, I always think of these moments of like, if I'm building a place, like looking out in the street and just like, this didn't look like a great place out there. And now it's like at night you watch people walking by and there's groups of people and you're like, this has changed. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's refreshing. It's nice to see a resurgence in Buffalo. So run us through the correct and proper way to A, hold an axe, but then B, how to throw it so you're accurate and not hurting yourself and others.
Absolutely. Really, it's first and foremost, obviously it's your grip. It's really, you want a strong wrist. You're not flicking, you're gonna be releasing with a strong wrist. So you overlap your hands a little bit here, and that's gonna be your guide. Your hands are guiding yourself now. You're gonna stabilize yourself so you're not getting wobbly. And really what you're doing is you're using your body, not your arms. It's gonna be creating this like tension to release here, let go, and follow through. And that's really it. It gets I don't wanna make it seem like it's that simple, but it actually is. It's really, there's gonna be some nuances and we can figure those out as you throw, but for the most part, it's just get that movement down, realize that you don't need to come in here, you don't need to throw it as hard as you possibly can. Just throw with a purpose and we'll figure out the rest along the way.
That's great. I tried to focus heavily on the silver lining of the situation, and I think it was nice to an extent. In this, I was right before we shut down. I was about to open 2 more locations. So I had 1, and we were just about to open 2 more. So we were kind of proactively building infrastructure for what we thought we would need for 3 locations. And in reality, I had no idea what I would need. And there was this opportunity, I think, with kind of starting over, where we were able to look back at all the lessons that were basically learned in running a business and fix them. I mean, willfully, most people aren't going to just like, I'm going to shut my business down a little bit, just overhaul, start over, rebuild. So in a kind of a weird way, it was
a reset.
Yeah, it was an opportunity to say, hey, here we are. How do we come out of this bigger, better, and stronger? What did we learn? What mistakes did we make? What could have we done better? And, we had to kind of have a slow build. It was interesting for the first 3 months, because I was basically out there, back in the bars, I'm working myself, getting the other bars opened up. It kind of reminded me of that little bit of year 1 building. And it was kind of fun in a way, because it was like, we're just kind of figuring this thing out. The rules kept changing every day, and we just kind of kept having fun. But we were able to accelerate 5 years of growth into 1 year, so we could kind of do what we would need to be done quicker, but I've already kind of done it and realized it wasn't right. You try so hard to make the perfect scenario and what you think, like, oh, we're going to be ahead of it, we're going to be so proactive, but the reality is you don't know anything. And I think that was the lesson I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned in business. And I think where I feel that I've been most successful is just maintaining a certain level of agility. Like, I'm just kind of like, I get what I do, and I get the main reason we're here, but the little bit of details, we're going to kind of figure them out as they go, and they're going to change, and they're going to change year over year, and demands change, consumers change, and then all we have to do now is just kind of keep focusing on the goal, and the goal is, I say, exceedingly good customer service or exceedingly good experience. I think if we set the bar higher, then if we have an off day, it's still pretty damn good. And even as a leader and have a team of people underneath me, I try to set it with this expectation where you have boundaries, but not necessarily rules. Because I want you to ultimately make what you feel is the best decision you can make to deliver the best experience for that customer at that time.
Okay.
Because it may change. Every group is different. Every person is different. And even with the things, having instructors, I have, in Buffalo alone, I have 30 instructors, probably another 20 in Brooklyn, and they're all different. The personalities are all different, and I embrace that. I embrace their diversity, their differences, because that delivers exceptional events, because they're authentically who they are out there. They're having a genuine good time. They know the boundaries, stay within these, and as you instruct more and you lead more groups, you realize that there's an art to it. You realize that what your group wants may be different. A lot of instructors have kind of figured out this thing where in their introduction, kind of setting the tone for it, they probe a couple things. They're trying to kind of get an idea of what event does this group want. Is this group here just to drink a ton? Is this group here to be competitive? And are they somewhere in between? What are they? Are they from a work collection? Are they from, family? Whatever. And we can kind of then take that assumption and at least
gear towards a direction, but then you kind of evolve as with it. So even in that 2-hour thing, we're really in tune to trying to make sure that we're getting the event that you came here for,
Right.
and what you want, and then exceed that expectation, because obviously there is a certain level of expectation that throwing axes and drinking beer is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much like a given. I go back to this review that I got a long time ago, and it was like, I knew it would be fun. I didn't think it would be that much fun. And I kind of hold that one. I set that expectation to my team and my staff almost all the time, is that, like, how do we surprise people?
Mm-hmm.
Surprising good is the expectation. Because they're not coming in here with like, well, maybe I'll have fun. I don't know. You know, but let's see if we can push it past that to a level of fun that they may have forgotten. Remember, a gentleman one time said, he was like, I haven't done something new and fun in 40 years. And it was just like those moments like that where it's like,
Oh my God, that's really sad.
I mean, it kind of is. Yeah, I guess when you think about it. But he's an older gentleman. But it's like you get stuck in these routines and in the rhythm of your life that you forget to go out and try to find new experiences.
Sure.
And that's, in a way, something that I feel like that we're able to offer a little bit, is an opportunity for new experience.
I love that. So welcome, everybody. We are the Buffalo Happy Hour. Obviously, we're here with Hatchets and Hops right now. It's such an interesting business model, and we've been trying to get in touch, or like set this up for a while now. We've been in contact for a while, but this is something that we both wanted to figure out, because I didn't know where it started, and we were talking a little bit ago that you're the first place in the U.S., which no idea. So can you tell people how that whole thing started and what it was like bringing it here?
Sure. I mean, it was kind of early, 2015-ish, and we're having this opportunity. We're up in Canada, and there was a place up there doing something similar, and it was like, okay, this is really cool. I saw this opportunity for the fun and the group, bringing people together, and was saying a lot about this, that this could be something that we did. On the basic high level of it, it's fairly simple. It really is just put some wood on the walls, grab some axes,
Right.
pour some beers, and we're going to have a good time. But as we evolved it and kind of grew into it, realizing that there is so much more potential in this. And then we just took that moment and said, how does Buffalo, like this, I guess, so it's like, basically we brought this idea here because, for long and short of it, in the winter in Buffalo is pretty boring.
Absolutely.
There's not much going on, and I think really something to be excited about. Like, in the winter, what do you most of the weekends you go back to work on Monday, and what do you do the weekend? Nothing really, because there's nothing going on. Maybe you're go skiing or something, but it's still really nothing special. There's not stories you're telling. It's harder to get people together, particularly after football season ends. Different things. There's no reason to get together as a group. When the holiday season is over, it's just kind of like, what do you do? January,
And it still
February, March.
snows for 4 more months here.
Yeah. So we said, this is something that we can put together, and we can give this opportunity for people to get out of their comfort zone, do something new, do something exciting, create stories, create memories, share this experience, and then, hopefully open up your mind in this idea that you can do more. There is opportunities out there if you just start looking for them.
Are you born and raised in Buffalo?
Yes.
No kidding. So what brought you to Toronto? Was it just a random weekend out with the guys, and then all of a sudden you just...
I went up there it was a classmate of mine. I think he was dating a girl that lived up there, and it was for her, I think her birthday or maybe her sister's birthday or something, and they just had the party at this place, and it was like, this is really cool.
Was that the first place, I guess, in Canada the first place ever that had this concept?
Yes, that was, this place up there was basically the first place that I know of that made, urban axe throwing, if you will.
Okay.
Kind of that as being a thing. I mean, obviously axe throwing's been around for a long time. I mean, it was, historic, its history goes really far back into the thing of the sport. Kind of the Americanized popularization of the sport was based around the lumber industry, and basically the guys would, out of boredom, throw axes at the trailers because all the wood stacked on the edge of the trailers, and they would kind of make bets with each other, whatever.
Sure.
Drink some beers and throw some axes. So it was kind of it's always been this social thing and a little bit of competition here, but bringing it to this urban level was the first thing done. Then I'm trying to think when they opened up, but
Did you have to talk to them or ask for their permission to do this here, or no? It's just a business concept. They didn't have axe throwing and beers patented, right?
Yeah, nothing is really particularly like, special about it. Like I said, there's now there's hundreds of them, because the concept is very simple, but it's, I think when you really understand that and you look deeper beyond it and realize the power that it actually has, you can do a lot more with it. And there is way more to it than than on the surface of just throwing axes and drinking beer. Really was probably, 2 years in or so when I really had that realization that I'm not in the axe throwing business. I'm in the experience business. What I do is deliver these events. I mean, there's a lot of places out there that are throwing axes, and really all you're doing is going to a bar, or more of like a garage, really, and throwing some axes at a wall, left on your own, throwing. But what I'm trying to do here is facilitate an experience that is centered around this idea of throwing axes, but it really is so much more. It's this having this person with you that's going to guide you through this entire experience. We've been teaching you how to throw, and kind of bringing that competition out of you.
It seems to be a part of all of us. Like, we all have this competitive edge to us where we come here and we're like, I have to do well. If I don't get a 5, I'm out of here. Like, even you, when you just tried it, you were so mad the first couple because you missed.
Shut up, Derek. So, for those that have never experienced a Hatchet and Hops, I mean, there's real no way to phrase this. If you're not in Buffalo and you're not in Toronto, chances are you have not experienced this ever. So we have people that listen from all over the place. Can you explain, if someone brand new walks in the door, how this whole thing goes?
Oh, I mean, they're luckily fortunate in a sense, I guess, looking kind of now to the future and fast forwarding ahead. There's probably a couple hundred nationwide.
Really?
They're in. I mean, I think there's a couple more in Buffalo now at this point. There's Rochester has them. I know of personally a few that are in Florida, Texas. I mean, they're all over. One of the bigger companies, a Canadian-based company, has rapidly grown, and I think alone they have 100 locations in the U.S. So it's kind of over the last few years has grown. I mean, we have that location in Brooklyn as well, and I think there's 4 others. But I mean, it's a big city, so it's there. But and everyone's kind of doing their own thing, which is exciting. It's I don't view it necessarily negative to have any competition. It's honestly kind of, I like it because it kind of keeps me motivated. It's like we have to be more. We can't just settle for the face value that throwing an axe is. It's got to be more. We have to deliver a better product to ensure that people come back. I mean, probably close to 80% of our business is from word of mouth. Reputation is strong. I mean, because you have that thing. You have such a good time that you want to share it with everybody.
That's awesome. So do you have half-hour blocks? How does somebody figure out how to do this?
Our typical basic event is 2 hours long.
Okay.
It's 90 minutes, 2 hours, depending on group size for the most part. And really it's structured around, there's a number of time slots throughout the day that you can kind of book on. Go to our website and you book. It's pretty easy to do that. And really the hardest part for a lot of people seems to be getting the friends together.
Yeah.
As you get older, it gets a little harder to organize a big group of people. But if you're able to do that, the bigger the group, the better.
Sure.
We have the ability, this location in downtown, you can take a group probably about close to 50. And we've had groups that size. Our other locations, I think their capacity is close to 80.
Wow.
And we can do it. We can have groups that big. I mean, the groups get broken up into small groups, and then the top 2 of each group go in to play. And we build this thing all the way up. It's like a little big tournament, because still, no matter what size your group is, somebody's got to win, and somebody wants to leave with the bragging rights. You can't have 2 winners.
Sure.
There's no such thing. Correct. But with that 2-hour event, you're coming in here and you're really going to be fully immersed in the experience that we have. I mean, it's right down to the first experience after you sign a waiver and you get yourself, the legal side of things, out of the way. It's then the fun happens. Then we walk through the doors and we get right to the bar. Tell you to go right to the bar, grab your first beer. Everyone's always like, can I drink? Do I have to wait till after? No, just jump right in. Have a beer. Honestly, I prefer people to have one right away, because it helps when they get in there that they're relaxed a little bit more.
Sure.
They're not trying to worry a little bit. Sometimes one of the challenges that always becomes is pushing through people's tension. They're like, I'm nervous, or you're just like, I throw too hard, or I throw too hard. I don't know. So get them that beer in their system a little bit, allows them to relax. And then the instructor brings everyone in, and then it's off to the races. They start with a bang. They come out, this is what we're going to do. And then once we do that, this is how you're going to do it. And the next thing we know, we're like calling 2 people in. It's you 2 throwing. And we just rotate through everybody, give everyone a chance to learn a little bit. Once everyone kind of has a basic understanding of how to throw, then the real fun happens. We jump into a round robin tournament, working our way, really just for the most part extended practice. We're just getting people kind of really comfortable with this. And once the round robin is there, and take a small little break, we'll make sure people have another opportunity to get a beer. If you want to grab one along the way, you can, but sometimes you don't want to necessarily leave that experience. So we give you a little break to go freshen up if you need to. And then we're jumping right into a tournament.
Nice.
We'll use your round robin scores. We rank you into a bracket elimination tournament. Depending on the size of your group, it could be single or double elimination, but we're really ultimately trying to get out there and build that hype, build that competition rate to that ultimate victor.
That's awesome.
It is super cool. And for those wondering, it's not a full-size axe that you would like split logs with. It's
A hatchet.
Yeah, but it's a good-size hatchet, because sometimes hatchets are way too small, and you're like, what am I going to do?
It's a pretty standard 1.25 pound camp axe. You can really, it's nothing crazy about it. It's accessible for everybody. It's not too heavy, but it's heavy enough. It's you feel like you're throwing something,
Yeah.
but it's not so much that you can't throw it.
Sure.
Yeah, you're not going to hurt yourself. Because I've seen photos on Instagram of some friends of mine that are not, 6'2", 220, and it looks like this massive axe. I was like, that place is super intense, and when you guys first opened, I was like, what is going on? Like, what is this place? And then as word spread, it's like, no, it's really, really cool to go in, throw an axe, have a beer, and then learn how to do it properly. Because before the interview, we talked about the legal aspect of it, where the SLA was kind of hesitant in regards to whatever you want, because they go, hold on, like you already got beer or whatever, but how is this really going to work with throwing an axe? And then you mentioned sitting down with the city and going over the entire idea with them was not that bad, just because passion sells, and you understood what the vision was and you could articulate it in a way that everybody understood what was really occurring here, so it wasn't super scary. But what levels of government have had to get that brief of what was going to be installed, basically? Did it go up to the mayor? No?
No, I did get mayoral support upon getting our liquor license later on down the years. But for the most part, it was once they figured out how to permit it, that was the biggest challenge, is what is it? Because there wasn't something like it in the books. So what kind of permit do you get? Once we kind of got through that thing, I think for a long time we were kind of viewed very similarly to bowling alleys. That was kind of where they fell short, or they fell close to, said this is what we're going to kind of consider you. Because it really is, it's... Because it has to do with a number of variables, with obviously capacity and square footage. That space isn't usable for regular customers.
Yeah, no.
So it's similar to a bowling alley. You have a large amount of square footage that isn't for traffic, but it is the activity itself. So kind of looking at that in a sense, and then being centered around the activity. I always say the bar kind of is, for the most part, more of like a concession stand in a way. And that was really when we realized, early on, I think it was very heavily focused on being this axe throwing club, being this community-based place around the activity, and the bar was just an accessory to it. And really true to date, the bar really isn't what the business is based upon. That is just an opportunity for us to enhance the experience and really showcase a lot of local breweries and stuff. I mean, we have a wonderful beer scene here, so it's a great opportunity to do that.
Sure. So when you brought this idea from Toronto, what was their business called again?
The one that we initially was Battle. It's BATL. It's the Backyard Axe Throwing League.
Okay.
That's sweet. That sounds super intense.
It sounds like Game of Thrones-esque.
I know.
It's an
But
intense place.
did you have any ideas outside of Hatchets and Hops of what you wanted to call yourself? Or was it always going to be Hatchets and Hops?
Oh man, coming up with names is always an interesting part. And I can't think of I don't even, at this point, it's been so long, I don't remember the list of names. And I'm sure it was 4 pages long. At some point you're going through everything you can think of and trying to find that moment where it doesn't lock you into something. Maybe, it never really wanted to be super regionally specific. I always had the dreams that this could be something cool and we could expand with it. So, I didn't want to pigeon himself into Buffalo something, Eagle City something, whatever. But it, naming was kind of, I don't know, it was a weird journey, and you just talk a lot. That's all you do is talk a lot. You say a lot of names out loud and hope that one of them eventually works.
Sure.
You don't have a business partner, do you?
I did when I started.
Okay.
But we, obviously through the growth of everything, we kind of, went our own ways, and that's it. So for the most part at this point, it's just kind of me doing it all.
So
Jesus.
at what point did you realize that you wanted to expand and go? Because you said that you have a place in Brooklyn. How is that journey?
Dude, we still haven't said, like, congrats, because that's huge.
It's awesome.
That's a really big deal.
I'm pretty excited about that place. I mean, that was a kind of a, I think, part of, I guess, what, makes the ability to be an entrepreneur is being a little bit or a lot of it crazy. I don't know.
Yep.
But I think that was that kind of moment. And I wanted to expand fairly early on, but it just, I wasn't completely comfortable with everything to do that. Once I kind of, finalized what the idea fully was and fully understood it, it was like, okay, let's start looking, and by that time, popularity of axe throwing itself had started growing. So it, the low-hanging fruit, your Pittsburghs, your Rochesters, we're seeing places already open up.
Gotcha.
So I didn't particularly think that it made the most sense to go into a medium to small market and compete. And it took a little while, and we kind of explored a number of options. And at one point, I think I was in Connecticut, and I was like, let's go to New York City. Let's go look around. We just kind of played around online for a little bit, found a location, not the location we're in, but found a location and set up a meeting. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
And just kind of said, why not? We're already here. Took the train in, and we're walking around. And then that place wasn't right for a lot of reasons. So we just started wandering the neighborhood. And something's got to stand out. I've always kind of been a big believer, and if you find the right place, that's what motivates you to do the work, to put it in, because it feels right. It's very intangible. And we found a place, and it kind of started snowballing. It started being something that became exciting. It's in a really, I'm really excited about the location. I love the look of the location. It's right in, it's actually directly across the street from Brooklyn Brewery.
Oh, cool.
So it's a fun little area down there. There's a lot going on. Brooklyn
That's
Bowl's
sick.
right there and stuff. So it's definitely an exciting area to be in. Obviously it's not without its challenges. Being in a city like that has a lot more challenges, but it is definitely exciting. We're still in infancy there. I think I say officially we've only opened in March, so it's still in the first few months. I mean, it was set to open pre-pandemic, but obviously, we kind of had to put a stop on it and navigate that. But we got it open, moving along, and it's exciting, and we're figuring that out. But yeah, moving to Brooklyn was kind of that thing where I was like, I had that hard look at myself, and I said, in reality, aside from some obvious overhead costs with like rent and stuff, because it's just more expensive to live there, for the most part, the same amount of effort to open a location and build out, relatively speaking, for the most part, it's all going to be relative regardless of what city I'm going to go into. So I may as well just go all the way in and just say,
sure.
That's the crazy part of me. It says, hey, let's just jump right in. We're going to figure it out. And I'm excited. I'm happy to do it. It's, I have a friend of mine that lived in Brooklyn, or lived in Manhattan, but, probably for like 15 years. So I spent a good chunk of my like late 20s going down there like monthly, weekly sometimes, just because it was like I had something to do. Jump on the bus or the train and shoot down there for the weekend. And I always kind of had that like aspiration, like it'd be great to do something cool here. And just fortunate to be able to have that opportunity to have something and then kind of just jump in and hope for the best.
Sure. Was there an axe throwing place in New York City? And
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we are, I think, officially the third one there.
Gotcha.
I think there's 5 total now. Obviously, it's a big metropolitan
Absolutely,
area.
yeah.
It's
big market.
It can handle plenty.
Sure.
I think in the area that we're currently in, I think I remember something, when I was doing some market research, it was something like in like 5 miles or 2.5 square miles, the same population as Buffalo.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right.
Like it's possible. I don't know the exact numbers offhand, but it's something like that. That it was staggering enough that you're like, oh, it could happen. I mean, there's still challenges to it because the one challenge I didn't really realize initially was, yes, there wasn't a lot of axe throwing, but there's a lot of things to do. Alternative, when I was here, there wasn't really much to do. And it was still even early on in the brewery scene, so there was only a couple. So there really still wasn't much going on here. There's a million new restaurants, a million great bars, a million things, and it's just like, so you're not necessarily you're competing with a finite amount of time that people have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the challenge is trying to make people prioritize what you have to offer among all the other things they can do, and then get that message out. There's definitely some challenges that I've experienced with going from a single location to a multiple location business where infrastructurally just is different, and you have to kind of navigate that, and we're working through that, and that's kind of fun though.
Sure.
It's fun to have a new challenge like that. That's something I would never have expected.
Yeah, absolutely. So the location we're in right now, we're on Main Street. What's the address of it?
505 Main Street.
Were you walking down the street and it jumped out to you like you're talking about the place in Brooklyn, or how was finding this spot? Because as you said when we were talking over there, when you moved in, it was kind of not as vitalized as it is right now. So what made you choose this spot?
I think I actually stumbled across this spot maybe online.
Okay.
I don't really remember. I think it was like LoopNet or something. Just kind of poking around. I was just open-minded, looking around. I was mixed the driving around, mixed things with a couple spaces. Ironically, looked at a space, and the space that I was almost close to doing. It would end up being a little bit larger than we needed, and that's why we didn't end up doing it.
Sure.
Is almost across the street from our location in Black Rock.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of funny how it I came back to that street later on in life.
Yeah.
So it's a weird little thing, but yeah, we just, when the space came, we just saw the space and I said, the idea was pretty clear that we were never going to be somebody's entire night. So it was definitely kind of realization let's get small, let's get a little more intimate, let's try to be part of the entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, shortly after Big Ditch opened up, and I think there was starting to see things coming around down here that this seemed right, because even if it's like a show or even if it's a Sabres game, there's things going on that you can kind of piggyback off of.
Right.
It was right when there was word and it was all in the works of opening this block of the street up. So I'm like, that's going to be a moment where I think it's going to change things. And then I think part of it was finding the location was exciting, but then the other more challenging part was finding a landlord that was okay with the idea.
Right. Liability and stuff.
Very true.
They just, some landlords don't know.
Sure.
They're maybe very risk adverse, or they have an idea of what they want. And I was fortunate to the landlord here that he was just, he understood the vision. He thought it'd be cool, and he saw the opportunity of what this could do in this area, and took a chance on it. And I think it's paid off for him.
Yeah.
It definitely is. I've seen this street substantially change over the 5 years. That it seems like it helped.
Yeah, that's wild.
How does a business like this go about getting insurance? Is there specific business insurance? Because I'm sure there's people that have absolutely no idea how this works.
There is. My insurance agent now, and broker basically, obviously he's kind of created his own little niche in accident. So he's kind of now doing that because it's growing enough. But his background predominantly was in recreation facilities.
Is it the same major insurance companies? Does Geico have business insurance?
Not that I know of. I don't know. The carriers that we have they're definitely commercial carriers, and they're geared around. Like I said, his background was heavily in recreation services, so it's paintball, it's hockey rinks and stuff. But our first initial insurance, what we actually targeted was basically archery ranges, gun ranges.
Okay.
People that are insuring people shooting guns and shooting bows probably are going to feel like this is not that bad.
Yeah. It's a
so
very good way of
that
thinking
was the
about
thought, and that was kind of the angle that we went at, and it worked out okay. Like I said, it now has grown a little bit, and we've had some hiccups. Unfortunately, most people have probably seen a number of videos online of axes flying by people's faces, and there's reasons that we don't not have to get into about what they did. What it wasn't them what did wrong; it was what the location or the business did wrong. There's more to it than just facilitating the event. Equipment and structure, and there's a lot. If you let people just kind of get wild out there, there's a human nature to push the limits.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're going, the dog will bite back.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, And
Do you ever get to that point when you're teaching somebody how to throw an axe where you're like, you're not getting it. We gotta pull you back?
Generally, It's very, very rare that nobody ever sticks at all.
Okay.
And it's usually, those aren't the people I generally worry about because they're not the ones causing danger. They just want to do it.
Sure.
But fortunately, what we have is we have a good team of people here, even between the managers and the bartenders and everyone involved, that everyone knows how to throw well. And usually what works is, let's say, bring a second set of eyes in. Just go over to the bar. The instructor will be like, hold on a second. In the middle of their group or before their tournament when they have a small break, they'll talk to the bartender and be like, I'm having a thrower that is having a little bit of trouble. Can you take a look? And a lot of times that person's going to come in. They're going to say the exact same thing, but it worked.
Sure.
And I think that's that. So usually, I try pretty hard and feel like pretty successful that you at least stick one before you leave.
Sure.
Nobody leaves here completely missing. I mean, it has happened. I guess maybe somebody has, but for the most part, it doesn't. We try really hard.
You try really hard to take as many of the variables out, right? Like the way that you grip it, the way that you throw it, it's all to get a consistent end over end, and you're just kind of working with how quickly the axe is flipping based off of how far you stand, right? Like there's nobody that's spinning it.
Occasionally, I mean, some people you'll see, some of your like softball players. Like do a little, they'll bring it to the side a little bit, or your basketball player will kind of like do a high flick. So some of those people you have to kind of correct, back out their like muscle memory, their competitiveness, that they're used to, because it's like their default is like, oh, I'm just gonna load up on my shoulder. It's like, no, that's not. You got to do that. But for the most part, it's by keeping a two-handed throw and keeping it where we're really engaged in the body and the movement, it does lend itself to be fairly easily accessible and then correctable if you're having any issues. And a lot of those corrections are just position. Really just you're kind of just you're guiding the axe to let physics do what it's supposed to do. It's heavy on one side, light on the other side. It's going to rotate.
Which is such a fascinating business model. This is so interesting to me. So I'm pretty sure everybody that comes in here, when I came for the first time, I asked this question. When you came here, you asked this question. How often are you placing the boards?
There's 5 boards across the board, and I have this saying that's like weekly or daily, weekly, monthly. The pairing.
Okay.
I don't know if that's actually true anymore, but it kind of thinks about that. And on a daily basis, depending on the level of throwing, I mean, the center board, especially if people are throwing well, is going to get worn out. That's a good thing. But there's a sweet spot. A little bit worn out, it's actually nice because it's softer.
Sure.
It accepts the axe better. A fresh target sometimes could be challenging. You got to throw a little harder. So there's a weird moment where it's like you want kind of worn out board, but then it just becomes a point where it's too broken up that it doesn't hold anymore.
Sure.
But the wood part of it is always a fascinating thing to me. Then I think a lot of people find fascination with it as well because of how ridiculous it is. The fact that never in my life I thought I would be aware and follow wood futures and the price of lumber. I follow it very closely, and it's like a weird piece of this business that's like that's crazy.
What wood are you using?
It's just white pine. It's nothing crazy. It's a 2x8 white pine. Nothing fancy, but with lumber costs is rising.
Yep.
The cost of a target now is 3 times as much as it used to be.
Sure.
And that's something we have to kind of think about, and that's where it's finding that moment where we're getting the actual proper life out of the board, but not to degrade the experience.
Right.
Because it's expensive.
So do you have to go in to like not look at any pieces of wood that have knots in it or anything, right? Like you have to really make sure that piece of wood will accept an axe, or does that not matter? Okay.
Just let it ride. It's fun.
Just let it ride.
Sometimes you get some knots and you get some things, and it's actually kind of a funny piece to it because it's I talk about it. It's always like a funny joke that always happens that it's never your fault. It's the wood's fault. It's sometimes it's like I know I even do it sometimes. I throw like, oh, the wood was bad. I hit a knot. And it's just like it probably didn't, but it's easy to blame.
It's a good excuse, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, and then it's just like, but we've tried different types of wood and stuff. You want generally a softer wood, because you are throwing against the grain or you're throwing with the grain. That's how it allows it to stick easy because the axes aren't sharp.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to cut yourself with it.
I noticed that. That was the first thing I did was I checked out the blade and I was like, oh, it's not as sharp as I thought it was going to be.
No, it doesn't need to be because you're throwing with the grain of the wood.
Yeah.
It's soft enough wood. It's just the weight of it's going to push itself in there. And
so do you ever sharpen or no?
Yeah.
I'll get a file out occasionally to get some burrs and things out of it.
Sure.
But, it doesn't need to be sharpened. I don't bother sharpening it.
Right.
I think it's an unnecessary liability to have a sharp axe, like too sharp.
That's true.
At the same point, it's also not necessary. I think that's if that's your problem, I think we got to talk about something bigger.
Yeah.
You think the axe is too dull for you to stick? And it's
Where do you source your wood?
we've actually, most of our wood is, we've had a great relationship with Lenco over the
Okay.
years, and they've been wonderful to work with, and they take care of us. They get us a good amount of wood, and they're cutting it for us, so we get it pre-cut and deliver it to the door. So.
How do you lay everything out and then spray targets and then just have like, okay, I need this section here and this, and it's always the same target sprayed aspect,
No,
like just the
it's
target itself? How does that work?
We use it just like a paint pen or a marker, basically, more or less, and I actually have a circle jig that I've made that allows me to make circles. So you
Got it.
you kind of set a marker in the center or like a little pin, and then you use a circle jig to kind of create your circles. It's a fairly simple, carpentry skill.
Love it. So the other aspect of it, your beer. Do you rotate your taps? Are they like different specials every week?
It definitely, at some phases of the time, we got a little crazy with trying to constantly have new exciting beers on, and it's hard because there is just so much of it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a delicate balance of like continually putting on new beers, but also having stuff that people want to drink. With having a fairly small tap list, we kind of decided this early on that basically each tap was going to be a type, not necessarily a kind. Or not a brand. It's the type of beer. So this is your IPA your tap. This is your cider. This is your lager. Because realistically, what we're trying to do is have beers that you've never had before, or maybe you have, but it's not maybe your normal beer. Or for the most part, a lot of people come in and they want their Blue Light. I don't want Blue Light, but I have a wonderful lager.
Sure.
I've been fortunate to have relationships throughout the brewing world, and we've gotten great beer. I think even the lager that we, our big flagship lager right now is this Hagen lager that's made by Pressure Drop, and that was something that Carl made right for us. And we
cool.
kind of were really instrumental in this thing because this is a need we have. Because you have a lot of people that come in and go, I just want beer, and I go, I got you, man. And this is it, and this is that beer. And it's an opportunity to get people that would never grab a different beer,
Sure.
but I kind of make them to their benefit. They are
Right.
able to get out of their comfort zone. But it's really the whole thing. The whole thing is built on this idea of trying something new, and I just carry that right to the bar.
That's sweet. Because if you know what type of beer you like. Like I like IPAs, I like sessions, I like sours. And if there's something different on there that is a New England IPA that I've never had before, I'm obviously going to gravitate to that.
Yeah.
So it's a good way of you kind of forcing everyone's hand to be like, listen, try something new. Do you normally try to stick local with your beer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's all local.
Cool.
Even in Brooklyn, it's all local to there.
Oh, cool.
So it's got
Nice.
kind of, we try to really build those relationships with the breweries. I think it's a kind of definitely a natural relationship there that we're able to have with the breweries and us, and we just kind of lean into that. I mean, it's exciting because we're able to do one of the things that I enjoy doing a lot is we get the brewers in here and we'll do like a tap takeover basically. One of the features of the tap takeovers that I always find super fun is we have a tournament, and the main goal of that tournament is you're competing against the brewers.
Oh,
And
sweet.
the staff. So it's like throw against them. Sometimes we'll do like little small stuff with the brewers and you win some swag and different things, but it's really just kind of a fun opportunity to meet the people that are making the beers that you know of on a different level.
Sure.
It's always fun to like go to the brewery and they're like, oh, they're going to show you these big shiny tanks they got in the back, but I don't know, it's like they're in their element, but kind of bringing them out of their element, kind of like it's exciting because you get to see what kind of person they really are.
I love that.
And it's fun.
It's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So your tagline, I notice, is "Do cool shit." Where'd that come from? What's the thought process behind that?
You know what? It's the origin of it is kind of interesting because I don't really know exactly where it came from. It just kind of happened one day, and we kind of, and I think even initially when it happened, I was kind of resistant towards it. Like, I don't know, I don't understand this. It doesn't make sense to me. But then there was a moment where it clicked, and I really understood what the idea was, and I realized that's kind of what's guided most of what we do here is this idea of doing cool shit. And it kind of goes into, getting out of your comfort zone, trying something new, changing the way you look at your life, or at least your routine, and challenge that. Look for new opportunities. Look for I feel like you can't come here. You can't have the time of your life this weekend and then go back to doing nothing next weekend.
Right.
Like you can't. I mean, maybe you do, but it's really, but it's going to itch to you. It's going to be that moment where you think about that thing, and now you're going to seek that adventure. And that adventure is bigger than us. It's you in your life looking at this idea to open your mind, seek other cool shit to do.
Sure.
You know, start looking around like, hey, I wonder what else cool shit I can go do. I wonder what else is out there now. You know, maybe it's
The rope climb.
Yeah, there are a million things you can do, and some, you know, that it doesn't matter. It's just get out of your routine. You did it, now stay there. Once you got out, don't go back.
Was that something that's always been ingrained in you as a person, like as an individual? Yeah.
I'm always seeking new experiences. I'm always kind of seeking this opportunity to just push myself to either do new things or be better at things and stuff, and just kind of be excited and have fun. You know, I think, you know, it's always that thing when, you know, everyone opens a business and this idea of like, oh, I'm just gonna do it so I can have a lot of fun. And really, that was one of the areas of this, like, you know, trying to build a brand with a little bit of anchoring into a lifestyle behind it. You know, it's hard to truly build a true ultimate lifestyle brand, but having this thing where, you know, it's an outdoorsy, it's adventure, it's thing. And it's not, I'm not like a lumberjack, you know, or anything like that, but it's like I just go out and try to find things.
Yeah.
I definitely wish I had more time to do it. You know, it's the trick they tell you about when you open business. You think you're going to have all this more time, but you actually have less time.
Yep.
You know, it's like, oh, if I work for myself, I'm going to have all this free time. It's like, no, you actually have less.
Yep.
You know, it's a different schedule. It's not a 9 to 5. It's not structured in a box, which is good, but it doesn't leave you.
Sure.
You know, it's the first thing I think about when I wake up, and the last thing I think about before I go to bed. Sometimes in the middle of the night I wake up and think about it.
Right.
Because that's a fun thing. It's fun to think about what we could do.
So,
What's on your, not to cut you off, but to cut you off, what else is on your bucket list in regards to things that you haven't done yet? Like, have you skydived? Have you bungee jumped? Have you hiked a certain number of peaks that you wanted to? Have you done the entire Appalachian Trail by yourself with a hatchet?
I honestly don't. I sadly don't do that much fun stuff, I guess, anymore. I think the most exciting thing I've done in a long time was last summer, or end of summer, last fall. So it's like a winter, almost a year ago now. My buddy did a 650-mile bike ride across New England.
oh, cool.
So 6 days we rode. I was over 600 miles or so.
How'd your ass feel?
It didn't. I
Yep.
lost feeling.
Good
It was
answer.
gone. It was
Good
gone.
answer.
It
Yeah.
fell off. I lost it about halfway through, and I never looked back.
So that's what, 100 miles a day?
About, yeah.
Is that your hobby? Is cycling?
It used to be. That used to be what I was really into.
Goodness, man.
It takes a lot of time.
It's exhausting.
So yes, it's fun. I really enjoyed. I used to race a little bit. I used to be a little more competitive with it because I kind of like that competition side. But now I kind of like the adventure side of it. I've enjoyed this like multi-day trips. I don't ride as much, but when I do, I ride bigger. I think. You know, it's kind of like the camaraderie, the bonding, the sharing experiences. That's what I kind of look for. You know, it's like going on a big through hike or doing something kind of exciting like that.
How do you, specifically regarding that, which has literally nothing to do with Hatchet and Hops, but we're going full send. When you plan those routes, are you going hotel to hotel, or do you have like satchels and then a bag that's got like a hammock or something else, and you're just full roughing it?
I'm not that crazy yet. It's definitely, I want to get there. I want to get to the point where I can, you know, self-sustain an entire like trip. But we were treating ourselves a little bit with some hotels and a fresh shower and washing your gear. But I still had to carry a lot of stuff because I mean, you wake up in the morning and it was. We went in end of September, and it was 30 degrees in the morning, and it's 7 degrees in the afternoon. So you're still doing a lot. And you got to carry a lot of food to ride that long, but you know, you break it up into. We basically rode for about 8 hours a day, 2 4-hour blocks, give or take. Stop and have lunch, and it was fun though. You know, it was. We were supposed to do another one this year. It just things didn't happen.
Sure.
We were going to do. The goal this year was Montauk to Buffalo, so we're going to do across the whole state.
Yeah,
So
that'd be sweet.
maybe next year.
That'll be a long ride.
It's a lot of training.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't do it nearly as much fitness as I should have had, but you know, at some point you just kind of the adrenaline just kicks in, and you're just like, I'm just doing this, and
Sure.
I don't even care.
Yeah, I feel like your second mile into like an actual highway, you're like, what am I gonna do? Like, we're out here, you know, like you can't stop.
No,
It's like
you
you're-
have
yeah,
you
it's
know
like-
where you have to be, and you have, you know,
There's no way else to get there.
yeah,
You know, you can't hitchhike. It's like, can I throw my bike in the back? You know, it's like not 40-year-old virgin all over again.
Yeah.
It's wild. That's really cool.
So what's next for Hatchets and Hops? Well, what are you just kind of trying to grasp everything that you have right now?
I think, you know, they're still kind of figuring out this multi-location piece to it. You know, there is a couple little areas that we're working on. You know, we have a mobile target.
Oh, cool.
wagon that we basically set up wherever. You know, if you basically rent it and we come to your house or your party or your company and we set up and we throw access, we throw the same event that we have here just on site or on your
that's
site.
sweet.
First Line just did that.
Yep.
Oh,
we're
that
at-
was with you guys?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yep, and that's actually the product that First Line had, or the experience that they had there is something that we were piloting with them, and that's basically going to be the goal for next summer, is this, we call it the moving target. And it's basically, I want to bring, because typically in the past, the Axe Wagon, the mobile target, was more of a carnival style. We would show up somewhere, and you pay a couple bucks, you throw a couple axes, and you're on your way. Unless you specifically rented it for your party, it was more of just this like thing.
Sure.
But with the moving target idea, what we're trying to do here is take our 2-hour event, take our event here that we're proud of and we're excited about, really what we're great at, and bring it to you. So going out to the breweries, restaurants, other areas that are kind of far enough away from us to where people in those communities don't probably really want to drive downtown.
Sure.
You know, we did it at First Line and we did it at Brickyard.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
we've done
yeah.
it at 42 North. So it's like kind of those, you know, perimeter venues. Because it's like if you live in Lewiston, you don't want to drive downtown.
Sure.
So I'm going to bring the event to you. And I'm going to, and
Super
you're
smart.
going to do the same thing. You're going to go online and you're going to book this event, you know, and it's going to be there. We're trying to lock in kind of in the first quarter. We're hoping to have all the dates locked in for the whole summer next year. And then we'll be just doing that all summer. It's going to be less about when you want to throw, which is kind of currently how it is
Yeah.
now. You go on, like, I want to throw on Saturday. Go book a time. This will be like, where do you want to throw?
Yeah.
So now it's, hey, when are they going to be near me?
Sure.
So you're going to go on there, and if we have the entire calendar built out for the summer, you could say, hey, when are they going to be at 42 North? Oh, they're this week or this week. I can do this week. Great, let's get a party together. They're coming here. We can do that because we don't have to go downtown now.
That's awesome.
It's a really good
I'm
idea.
pretty excited about that. It's definitely some challenges, you know.
Did that just start this year?
Yeah, we basically piloted a couple opportunities at the end of the summer, just as like it's an idea that just kind of came up on how to take what we had. We had the mobile target for a couple of years, and we've been kind of doing that. And people run for their priorities. We do some stuff with universities. We've done different events with corporates and stuff. But we're like, how do we do more with it? And this kind of idea came from that. It's like, well, I think there is this. We're kind of after doing this for 5 years now. I think I looked the other day. I think I've had 65,000 throwers, I think.
Wow.
So it's like, well, how do we get to more people? Because there are people that have not done this or have not, for whatever reason, come out here. And, one of those things that is definitely an area when we address, like, we're trying to figure out what that is location. And I don't necessarily know if I want to open up a location in Orchard Park.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I can't serve that community.
That's a really good idea because a lot of people in the surrounding areas think of a trip to Buffalo as like a trip. Like this is the big city that I'm going to. But yeah, if you have something at First Line that they normally regularly go to because they love their beer, you're just bringing it to them. It's such a good idea.
Yeah, and it's great to have these relationships with the breweries, and it's seemingly they're most of them are excited about it, and I'm excited that they're excited, obviously, because it is a partnership. When we're going there, it's part of it is their sell. They have to kind of help us. They have to tell their patrons that we're coming next week. We're going to promote it, but the ask that we have is that they kind of also put a little bit in. But really, it's going to bring a couple hundred people to their place for that weekend because the idea is to set it up basically Thursday and carry ourselves to Sunday. So we'll be there for 4 days. So we have we set up a semi-permanent residency for that weekend. We're going to live here for the weekend. So you can kind of come and you can book something. And even if you see it on Thursday, you can come back on Sunday. Because I didn't get a chance to book it today. Maybe I don't have my friends together. Come back. Or, with that calendar being built out, I'm not going to be able to do it this weekend. I was there drinking. I saw them. But when are you guys here next? Oh, we're here next in a month.
Sure.
So I can do that. So
That's awesome.
It should be fun. I think it's another opportunity to just get it out there and show people. And like I said, it's really fun to work with our friends at the breweries and stuff because it's kind of in a weird way I've kind of found myself. I'm like one of those weird people that doesn't really fit in anywhere. Because we're not a restaurant, not a brewery, not really a bar, kind of somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
So I'm able to find kind of friends along the way that are like in those areas, but we don't really fit. Breweries seem to be the ones that we find closest to because we sell beer.
Yeah. Right.
So it kind of like it's a natural relationship.
Yep.
And, you know, and build that, and let's work together and kind of have opportunities. And you know, they're always looking for new things to program at their spaces, and we're looking to get in front of people. So it's a good match.
Yeah, that's awesome. So to book an event, whether it's here or at one of your mobile sites next year, you go to your website. What's your website?
Hatchetsandhops.com.
Okay, and then all your social media is
Hatches and Hops.
nice,
Nice and
super
easy.
easy.
Yep.
And or the ampersand.
And spelled out.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah, a couple things I think like, you can't use the ampersand, so I just
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it's all spelled out. It's, you know, for the most part, it's not super difficult to find.
Cool.
Which fortunately, but you know, and you get on there, and we're in the middle of overhauling the website. That's very exciting. Kind of, you know, it took that opportunity, the 5-year anniversary. Said this is a good chance to kind of refresh some things. You know, we're trying to, like I said, clean up the infrastructure for multiple locations. So it's this also chance to. It all kind of happened at the same time. Where I said this is the moment. Let's refresh that. So I'm excited for a new website launch shortly.
Nice,
you know,
congrats.
Yeah. So and then so it's pretty easy to get on there. It's
Yeah.
just basically go on big button that says book now. Just click it and, and pick where you want to book, and you book.
It's
You know,
so
try to
easy.
keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, it's so down to earth. The whole process through and through is really simple and streamlined.
So if someone's watching this and they're not sure if they can do it, what do you tell them? Or what
I
would you
have
tell
seen 75-year-old women do it. I have seen and everyone do it. Like there is nobody I have not seen. We're here to take care of you.
Sure.
We're here to make sure you have a good time, and that's really our priority. And you're gonna have a good time.
That's
Like,
awesome.
You know, it's really like I don't know. It's our goal. It's what we come in and we wake up doing, and the whole team thinks about every day is how do we make sure people have a great time.
Cool. Well, everybody, this has been Hatchets and Hops. We greatly appreciate your time, man. This was
no
awesome to come sit
Glad we
down
finally
and
got
talk
it
with
done,
you.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's such a sweet business model. If you haven't done it, just come down and do it. Or next year, figure out if they're coming to a brewery near you and go hit them up there. So thank you so much, man. We really appreciate
you.
your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.